markers available. So I don't think anybody's caught out. It's nice to see 13 people appreciate some good information. So you can see here the keys. Here's the main point here, that we notified you guys that the bearish markers are still in play. So when we look at the actual storyline that was attached to that, you can start looking back towards some of these, and this is the equity macro tweet here, look. So this is going back to 11 o'clock last night, and you'll see that from 11 o'clock last night, we'll see that from equity macro, as discussed, the care warnings can't be lifted yet, as we're still some bearish markers in play at the moment. So we're not lifting any care markers. We do still have a very sell side slant to this market. So when the market opens, and it's nearly all sell orders that are coming in, I'm very, very convinced that this is a sell side only market for the time being. But when the volume changes here at 24,500, I'm no longer selling this. I think that's it finished. Personally, I think that's it done. And, you know, that's the end of trend narrative right there at the wholesale. And I think we've turned out that we're right with that end of trend at this stage. Now, whether we retest it or not, it doesn't really matter. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. But at the moment, I think the end of trend is currently in based on the volume reversing out of this bottom edges here. And you can see a very strong volume reversal. Very strong volume reversal off the bottom edges. But what a great sell. 24,640s, traded a low price of 440s, 200 points, $4,000, and you were in the market for approximately 13 minutes for that size of money. And I think that's as good as it can possibly get, isn't it? Really, that's just a great trade. And obviously the concerns we've had on that macro chart, well, we can obviously revisit the macro chart and take a goosey gander at it and see what the macro was telling us, and why was I still bearish from last night? Why was I still concerned about the trade from last night? And we can take a look. So obviously this is the chart we showed you yesterday, and we talked about this storyline of aggressive puts and very bearish narratives. And obviously this was the day we had yesterday. And I said yesterday, obviously when the tweet came out, I still have a very bearish skew. Well, you can see what's happened since my tweet, because there's the closing bell right there. Since my tweet, this is what's happened. So what you're seeing on the screen on that 1 minute chart, 30-second chart, isn't the full story, of course. This has been massively sell side overnight. And it's all based on a tweet that we gave you. Now, why was I so convinced that the bearish markers had not gone away, even at this middle price point? Well, quite obvious. The gamma line. Does that look as if the gamma line's gone very bullish? I don't think so, mate. I don't think so at all. When we look at the credit spreads market, does that look like the credit spreads market's gone bullish? I don't think so, mate. I think this is sell side only business. All the things, in fact, that we went through from the previous day all look as if they're still very sell side only. The dispersion trade, was that bullish? Well, it certainly was bullish during the day, but on a macro chart basis, there's a massive divergence on this. You may say, how do you know there's a massive divergence on this? Well, because if I look at, for example, the dispersion here against, for example, the dispersion here, well, the price is the same, but the dispersion's a lot higher. And therefore, on that basis, is this still not a sell trade? Of course it is. So when you're looking at this trade as a narrative, you're saying, well, I think this is dead cert that this is going to keep dropping at this stage. And hence the reason why last night I was able to post that the care warning has not been lifted. The care warning is still very much in play, and that we should be very, very mindful of the fact that we are not looking to buy this. We're still looking to be short sellers. We should still be making money on the short sell. So there we go, another tweet that just made an absolute fortune. Because obviously even on the S&P case, this was a sell at 66.50s, currently trading at 65.70s for $4,000 a contract on the S&P itself. Just in one single closing trade on the sell side. Crazy stuff. Crazy, but good. So we were right about this not being a sell market. As I said, I don't like the sell. The value narrative, volume narrative has changed in terms of the outcomes. And of course, you can see that we've now pressed. We haven't seen any new, well, we've just actually just got a seller there, haven't we? So we've just taken a seller on that up candle. And we'll pop it in just there. You see the sellers are getting pushed back. This could be buyers taking profits, of course. When sellers are at higher prices, it's not bearish. It's the same as when buyers are at lower prices, it's not bullish. Because obviously a buyer at a lower price can be a profit take. We don't have a clean answer to that, do we? A buyer at lower prices could be profit taking. A seller at lower prices is a sell. Lower prices, lower prices, lower prices, sell. Seller at higher prices, not a sell. This could be profit taking from the buyer that came in here. This could be profit taking from the buyer that came in here, not a sell. So when we see that, we simply recognize that this does not have a story that allows us to go short from. We've covered this before. It's not a surprise. It's not hindsight. It was covered with you guys quite a while ago when we actually originally talked about this.